Hi, my name is Ben Friedman. During the Trump administration,
I like that. I know I'm gonna be pause champ with all these, but I love that the AI subtitles are like Ben Fredman. Ben Fredman over here.
I had the privilege of serving as the Deputy Assistant Secretary of State for Digital Strategy within the U.S. Department of State's Bureau of Global Public Affairs. First of all, congratulations.
Was this the guy who added the Sonnenrad to the DeSantis campaign video?
On being part of this program.
Probably not.
I consider my time working as a political appointee
That's a fake
as
name.
one of the most challenging,
I agree.
formative,
Every one of these people has a fake-sounding name.
and impactful roles in my career. The actions that the American people entrust a newly elected president to deliver are not possible without the placement of thousands of competent, dedicated individuals
who are completely loyal to the president and will do anything he says, even if it's illegal, because they know that the president will pardon them.
Political appointees across dozens of agencies. That is why I believe so strongly in the importance of initiatives like this one to ensure the principles and policies of a presidential platform can be effectively implemented starting on day one.
In the eyes of many in the world, this every 4 years.
Look, you gotta start on day one, because if you don't start on day one, you might never reach the stars. It's very inspirational.
Ceremony we accept as normal is nothing less than a miracle.
In America, we understand that a nation is only living as long as it is striving.
Only a few generations have been granted the role of defending
A nation is
freedom
only alive
in its
as
hour
long
of
as it is
maximum
living.
danger.
This great nation will endure as it has endured, will revive and will prosper.
Whether we go forward together with courage or turn back to policies that weakened our economy, diminished our leadership in the world, America's future will be in your hands.
I'm sorry. That looked rough. That looked like a rough play. All right, best practices in social media to advance policy and not be arrested as a dumb
My
fuck.
goal today is to offer you a unique, first-hand perspective on how to most effectively use social media to advance policy as an administration official.
And to not break
While
the
at
law.
the State Department, I led the largest internal reorganization at that agency in the last 2 decades, combining the domestic and international digital media departments to create a global organization made up of over 120 full-time staffers and many more contractors operating across 5 continents. In my final year leading...
Holy moly! Michael Reich! Thank you for the $117.59 super chat. My goodness! Michael Reich, thank you so much! We are not going back. Now's the time. Hell yeah! Let's go! Now is the time for us to right the ship and pave the way to greater things in the future, okay? Because honestly, right now, I have a lot of hope in my heart. Like, I know that this guy is ontologically evil and working for an organization that would see all of us, like, wiped out and crushed into the dirt. But, like, while this is terrifying and we must mobilize against it, it's nice to have hope for a better future where, like, is Kamala Harris a socialist? Are there so many things that she needs to improve on, should improve on? Absolutely. But you know what? The way I see it right now, I'm looking at the actual, what the actual possibility window is right now. And that's getting Kamala Harris into office. And after 4 to 8 years of Kamala Harris, Tim Walz, baby.
We are not going back. Now is the time.
Tim Walz is way better than Kamala Harris on a lot of different things. And I think he could do another 8 years. But you know what? I'm open to an open primary process where we look and see who in the field is going to serve the far like our interests, the working people's interest, you know? Michael Reich, again, thank you so goddamn much. I could not make this show without folks like you, so thank you, thank you, thank you. Any relation to Sam Reich or Robert Reich?
Leading this new organization, we achieved more digital and social media engagement and reach than the previous 13 years combined, and grew multiple key social media accounts by several million followers. This was not by luck, chance, or a few viral posts.
We all love Sam Reich.
It was the culmination of a multifaceted strategic overhaul of the approach and systems for content production, approval, and distribution. This conversation is going to cover 3 distinct chapters. First, recommendations for operating effectively within a government agency. Second, building your toolkit for managing social media output. And third, principles to guide your content creation process. Let's get started. Welcome to the administration. You're not in Kansas anymore. Whether you're coming from the Hill, a campaign, or the private sector, working within a government agency is a whole new ballgame. You will be presented with unfamiliar challenges, and there will be a learning curve as you try to understand the culture and processes, not just of the U.S. government, but of your specific agency and organization. Since every agency is different, I will just touch on some best practices for how to empower your team, assuming that, similar to my experience, a significant portion of your social media and communications operation will be staffed by civil servants. In my case, it was 100%. If coming from a political role, you've had the privilege of working alongside a highly motivated team with deep political alignment and a sense of urgency. Your new team probably doesn't have the same politics as you, possibly even the opposite. Social media management isn't a new adventure to them or a stepping stone to something else. They've been doing it as a full-time job for potentially many years and may have strong feelings about what they perceive as the right way to do things in that building, some of which may clash with your own perspective. First, find and empower your allies in the civil service. Do not
First of all, be aware that some people might tell you the things that you want to post are pesky little nuisances like incitement to violence. Ignore them. Find the people who will support your calls for violence.
let complicators and naysayers poison the well. People like to give government employees a bad rap. In some cases, that may be deserved, but I found that similar to most large organizations, there's a bell curve of individual quality. There are some people with low competence and motivation, a lot of average folks, and also some people with really exceptional motivation and ability. A key to your success will be to identify smart, motivated civil servants who are eager to support your work and limiting the influence and involvement of those who are going to hurt morale or be a drag on the quality or volume of output. There are qualified individuals who understand that the role of civil service is to support the elected administration and will be eager to execute the mission. I was fortunate to come across some of them. When I did, I elevated their position to maximize their impact and prevent others who might not have brought that same energy to the table from interfering with their efforts. Your time in the administration will go quickly, so make sure to choose your battles and do not let personnel issues distract you from your core mission.
Okay.
Second, convey your policy priorities internally. A constant refrain that I would hear from leaders
Because we don't want you saying them publicly, because that would look very, very bad.
is that agency staff refuse to push priority messaging. The assumption was that individuals at the agency did not agree with the policies and thus were obstructing them. This may have been true in some cases. What I personally found while managing a team of over 100 civil service communicators was that often policy priorities were not well understood. When you are coming from a campaign, committee, or Hill office, it's fair to assume that your colleagues know the policy priorities inside out and are experienced in articulating them, in part because their own personal beliefs match these policies. Don't assume that your staff has articulated these policies before. If you wish to deploy the manpower at your disposal, you need to not only train them on the policies, the what, the how, and the why, but also keep them up to date on how policies are changing and adapting through the use of externally shareable talking points, quotes, and other approved messaging material. Every policy vertical that is a priority for your office should have documents that are accessible to the entire team and updated regularly with messaging that is approved for external use. This will not only allow you to move faster, but also assure clarity for all of those tasked to support your efforts. Third, get continual feedback. I recommend the SWOT method. Upon joining State, I walked into a department where morale was low. Teams were not equipped to succeed on many levels, and as a result, they were making mistakes and producing low-quality work. To have a well-oiled machine, you need to know what the problems are and why they are there before you can fix them, or at least decide if they should be addressed. Everyone will find their own best approach, but a sincere effort to build lines of communication from leadership to staff and staff up to leadership will pay dividends. 3 tools that I found to be very beneficial were one-on-ones, which I held weekly with each of my 4 office directors and my senior advisor, SWOT analysis.
Okay, so far this is pretty boilerplate, like managerial, like analysis tool. Like, I've worked in an environment where like SWOT analysis is used. And like so far this is relatively normal stuff. You know, having one-on-one meetings with people to figure out where the team's at. Like, what are they working on? What have they been thinking about the project, et cetera, et cetera. This is like basic management 101 stuff. And I guess really what this is telling me, how do I put this? Chat, normally when you're bringing in people to manage people, they have experience already, and you don't need to explain how to do the basic parts of management to them, right? And the fact that they're going into this level of detail kind of indicates to me that really what they're looking for is not the cream of the crop, as it were. They're looking for literally any idiot. And that's been contradicted by a couple of videos, but like, they wouldn't put this video out unless they expected actual zero experience with managerial like strategies, you know? Yeah, they're looking for people who at the end of the day will be loyal, and they don't care if they're idiots. They just want them to be able to sign their own name on different orders and like be able to handle checking off boxes on paperwork. You know? Like that's at the end of the day what they're really looking for here. And I think that becomes extraordinarily apparent from what the content of these videos.
Analysis, which stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, and an end-of-week email to staff highlighting key priorities, accomplishments, and some positive shout-outs. I used the SWOT analysis for my monthly meetings with each of the digital offices. A template was distributed to each office for every individual to complete from their point of view. I reviewed them, and then we held an office-wide meeting where every staffer presented their responses and we discussed them as a team. As feedback was addressed, the number of items in the weaknesses and threats buckets went down. This might have been an intense approach, but it worked well for a large organization going through significant changes. Overall, these efforts helped identify problems that prevented the team from maximizing their potential, communicate priorities from leadership, and built trust among what started out as a highly skeptical group of personnel. Four, get support and buy-in from your leadership. The government is a very hierarchical organization. Personnel at the very bottom have little ability to approve or change anything.
Tell you that I don't buy into what bullshit? Like the bullshit of like a SWOT analysis? It's like something that I was required to do as like a contractor while working on like video game reviews in the industry. Like I had to I like you have to be able to do an analysis of like the general market, like the position of like the game, etc. You have to be able to like convey that to a team of people. Like it's managerial bullshit. But, like, the reason it's bullshit is because it's basic. It's basic, like, this is, like, a basic skill you should be able to have. Like, this, you should be able to know how to manage people. And if you're a good manager, you don't have to rely on these artificial, like, constructions. But the fact that they're teaching this is because they think that the people they're going to get are incapable of like doing it without being told. You know? They wouldn't say it if they didn't feel like they needed to say it. Does that make sense? You know? They would be right. They are correct in that, yeah. I like my manager. Good managers are good, but most managers are bad.
The further up you go in the ranks, the more power someone has to just simply say, yes, let's do it. The most effective tool against bureaucratic pushback is to have the support of political appointees higher up in the ladder. At the State Department, I found that civil servants were very adamant, often infuriatingly so, on operating within the hierarchy. They believed they knew exactly what you could do or could not do, or have them do, based on your rank. The more that it is known that you work on behalf of and are trusted and empowered by those in positions above you, with the absolute ace card being a mandate from the White House, the easier it will be to get things done. When things get difficult, having leadership being willing to step in, often just in the form of replying to an email to have your back, will remove a ton of friction that can otherwise stand in your way.
Yeah, talking with people. You know, so they can do stuff for you. Make sure you it's like playing an RPG. You have to talk to the NPC and exhaust their dialogue, and then they might do something for you under a different set of circumstances. Think of people as not people, but machines. Kiss ass all day, every day, exactly.
Now, I'm going to walk through the toolkit that I recommend for producing social media as an administration official. If you're currently part of a well-run social media operation, very few of these recommendations will be a surprise. But I believe that you will find them to be of even greater value while working as an appointee. 1. Your approval process. Document your team's approval process in detail. Keep it as lean as possible so as to not slow down or complicate getting content out the door. Everyone in the organization should have a copy and confirm their understanding. It should also be formally approved in writing by your leadership. When you get the inevitable "who approved this" email from someone very high up, you will thank me.
Too many syllables, you understand? Sandra, don't make me email Donald to tell you I have the power again. Like, as somebody who gets content out the door every day, all day, every day, okay? I'm in the content mines, all right? I just, like, yeah, you should have a workflow. You know, like, this shouldn't... the fact that this needs to be a video is kind of ridiculous to me. Like, have meetings with your employees to see that they are doing their jobs and make sure that they have all the support they need. Hey, dummy, make sure you have a workflow process, you know, a set of things that need to be done before the social media post gets posted. Hey, make sure you know what kind of goal you have in mind when you make a social media post. Have it be something you can articulate before you post it. That will help you to make sure that you've thought through what you're posting. Like, come on, what is this? Just, how are you hiring people who have no idea how to, like, post on social media responsibly for this position? You know, because, like, you have all the time in the world to vet people who have these skill sets, right? The issue is they don't... like, even though they're vetting these people, they don't want to prioritize actual skill sets. They want to prioritize loyalty. It's loyalty more so than anything else. Over and over and over again. Loyalty. You need to be loyal. It doesn't matter if you have the skills. Be loyal.
2. Style Guide. The White House will create and make available a White House Style Guide. But creating a separate...
You know, like... yeah, have a style guide for your social media. This shouldn't be hard, man. Like, I'm frustrated as somebody who's had jobs posting social media. Like, a lot of this is kind of no shit, Sherlock. You know? I'm a little frustrated, if you can't tell.
Separate style guide for your agency, as we did at State, will be incredibly valuable. If you're not familiar with style guides, they contain everything from the fonts to the color palettes, logos, and icons that are most commonly used by your organization and guidelines for how to use them. This is one of the most valuable tools for making sure your content is visually consistent. Anyone who is new to the team or supporting your team will also be better equipped to produce on-brand materials.
I have a basic idea of what you're doing.
3.
Stupid.
Template your creatives. One of my initiatives at the State Department was a full branding overhaul for everything digital. The rebrand impacted all platforms and content we touched. You can even see the day that it was implemented if you scroll to the right place in the State Department Twitter feed. The grid goes from looking like every single post was produced by a different person working for a different organization, a total lack of consistency or cohesion, to an incredibly aligned and purposeful visual aesthetic that not only looks good, but was designed to be more effective at communicating messages on social media. I selected a tiger team of internal designers as well as an external specialist we hired from the campaign world to build several dozen social media graphic templates that aligned with our style guide and fit almost every possible messaging use case we had. We also created a set of social media video templates, all square, with captions, and with a thumbnail for the first frame. All very important social media content best practices that were not currently being deployed at the department. With this robust guide, the social media team was able to task graphic design personnel by telling them which template to use and then providing them new copy and images to apply. This revolutionized speed and consistency of our social media output. Your goal is to maximize the output and impact of your social media, not reinvent the wheel with every post. Four, a content calendar. You can easily create a content calendar, even in Google Sheets, but that does not mean it is not an essential resource. You need to plan ahead, ideally as far as possible.
You might actually be subject to the overestimation of general understanding of your field of specific knowledge, because a lot of this stuff will absolutely not be familiar to, say, an associate professor of economics at some small university in Montana. Well, that's true. But the thing is, what I'm trying to convey is that they're going to put like a, associate professor of economics in charge of social media, right? Like that's what they're doing here. I'm just pointing out, like, they do not care about competence, and they aren't caring about your ability to do the job. They just want you to be a yes man for the job, you know? We deserve some boob? Maybe. If you give me money.
I would make sure that your content calendar is actually populated a year out with any well-established...
Though I gotta be honest, I think I'm providing a big boob right here.
events, anniversaries, or holidays. If you're going to do a Christmas post, that should already be on your content calendar on January 1st. That way, at the beginning of each month, you can pre-task all of the creative effort that will be necessary to create routine posts for the coming weeks. The content calendar will also help with the planning for policy-driven messaging and campaigns, and help you visualize the balance and the volume of which topics you will cover and what types of media you will use. As you may know, if you've worked in social media or content before, it's very hard to do high production value work last minute. If you actually want to do justice to a particular policy campaign, you might need several weeks to produce the videos, graphics, landing pages, etc., and get them approved. I absolutely hate fire drills, and a social media team that is constantly working last minute is constantly putting out low quality content and constantly missing opportunities.
Thank you.
Once you get into a last minute posture, it becomes very hard to catch up. On the subject of planning, be wary of scheduling posts. At State, we actually had a no scheduled posts policy. You should do what's best for your team, but in a fast-moving news cycle, you do not want to accidentally put out content that is outdated or tone-deaf based on events that have taken place since the scheduling was set.
Fair. Again, this is some pretty basic stuff, guys. Like, this is... Okay, I guess if you're hiring a social media manager, but like if your job is to execute housing policy, I would not assume you would know how to content post. Well, yeah, but that's exactly that's the point I'm making, right? The point is that they're going to be hiring people who do not know what the fuck they're doing in the fields that they're being hired for. Because they're just being hired to be yes men. Like, this isn't me being mean about the people involved in the project. This is just like their hiring goals do not value competency, which is why they are just getting and going after yes men and need to provide these intricate, detailed guides. I think more than anything else, this is more covering their asses over anything. I don't think so. Like, their ass is already covered. Like, they're not liable for any of this. You know, if every single appointee that they helped with this plan got into office, they wouldn't. I don't think they'd be legally liable for any of it. It'd all fall back on Trump and like these volunteers. You know. I was really expecting more juice from this one.
Number 5, collaboration tools. When I got to the State Department, all the communication into and within the social team took place through an Outlook email listserv that forwarded to the email addresses of everyone on the team. It was a terrifying fire hose of emails, but that was the way they'd been operating for over a decade. When you came on duty, you would sort through a massive inbox of emails to figure out what requests had been made of the office, what communication had taken place across the office, and what approvals had been requested or received by the office to external teams. It was a horrible system. We got everybody onto Slack for communicating across the social team and with the creative teams, Google Drive for shared documents, including our internal wiki, and Trello for tracking the social media content creation and approval process.
Yeah, this is pretty standard.
While there were complaints when these platforms were first introduced, I tell you with all sincerity that if I would have removed them when I left at the end of the administration, the team would have burnt down the building in protest. That's how important these tools became. If there are other systems that you prefer, like Airtable or Asana or something new, feel free to deploy the stack that makes the most sense for you. But again, there's no reason to reinvent the wheel. And there are a handful of tools that are already used by pretty much every social media team in politics and the private sector.
Fox Syndicate, I have not heard about that. Please link some info for me to learn more. Because that sounds good for our current political moment. Bad for Trump personally, but good for, I don't know, the world, the peepo, the children. Yeah, Olive Ryder, exactly. Like, if he was less rattled, it would be a lot more dangerous.
Number 6, pre and post publication checklist. This is especially beneficial if you have a team pulling the trigger on each post, but also helpful as a way to slow down.
Daily Beast, Trump keeps watching clips of himself being shot at, may legit have PTSD. Oh, damn, dude. Those close to Donald Trump fear the former president may have legit PTSD from the assassination attempt at a Pennsylvania rally last month. According to a Vanity Fair report published Wednesday, those in Trump's inner circle have noticed that he's become fixated on a 7-second clip that shows the moment he nearly lost his life. He's been watching that 7-second clip of how close he was to getting shot right in the head over and over and over again, said a Republican close to the campaign. It was the same Republican who suggested Trump may be suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, condition common among soldiers and others who've witnessed or experienced a traumatic event. Oh, you know what? This might actually explain something that was really weird from today. What was that from today? God, the Hill. Why? Okay, here we go. God damn it, The Hill. I swear their website gets worse all the time. Oh my god. Former President Trump has once again found himself at the center of a firestorm over his comments about veterans after he compared a civilian award favorably to the Medal of Honor. Wow, that is a very kind phrasing for this. Trump on Thursday spoke at an event at his Bedminster, New Jersey property focused on combating anti-Semitism, which was also attended by GOP megadonor Miriam Adelson. During his remarks, Trump spoke about giving Adelson the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the nation's highest honor, in 2018. That's the highest award you can get as a civilian. It's the equivalent of the Congressional Medal of Honor, but a civilian version. It's actually much better, because everyone who gets the Congressional Medal of Honor, that's soldiers. And they're either in very bad shape because they've been hit by so many bullets, or they're dead. She gets it, and she's a healthy, beautiful woman. And they're rated equal. Okay, couple of things here. One, this is incredibly, like I know Republicans hate veterans. You know, Republican politicians in particular hate veterans. But, like, this is, like, another level. Like, usually there's a mask on it. But this is just, like, outright, man. But I was thinking it was really weird that he was like, soldiers who are in very bad shape because they've been hit so many times with bullets. And honestly, this story makes that statement have a little bit more, makes it a little bit more sensible. You know, like not sensible in that he said it, but like, or what he meant by it, but sensible in the sense that like, I understand it now. Like, Olympians, stop. It doesn't work if you just say JK after it. So, like, I don't know. This is hearing that he's been watching the video of the assassination on repeat. Like, yeah. A source spoke to the magazine, claimed Trump has told people close to him that they cheated by swapping Biden. In social posts, Trump has suggested that Biden may crash the DNC next week and force himself back to the top of the ticket. Dude, he's done. He doesn't have the juice, guys. He doesn't have the juice. Like, even Roger Stone is like, I do think it's counterproductive to call Kamala Harris stupid. When Roger Stone is calling your attacks bad, you know you've gone, like, in completely wacko directions, you know? I don't think he can do the debate. I think he's gonna back out. I do not think that this man... I don't think this man's got the juice. If he goes on stage with Kamala Harris, he's going to either be like so completely high on like amphetamines that he's going to be talking a mile a minute and like he's going to come across very weird, or he's going to be absolutely shattered by the experience. You know, if I was, let me put it this way, if I was his campaign manager, I would take the L right now and back out of the campaign, or back out of the debate, right? Or I would wait until the very last minute and be like, oh, he got sick. You know, either way, it's going to look bad, but then you have time to recover before like actual voting happens, you know? He'll call her Kamala to her face. Yeah, but like that's not like the worst nickname he's ever come up with. You know, like it has no punch to it whatsoever. No way he's debating. I'd put a $5 on that. Like, yeah. Got purged. What have I witnessed? You witnessed us maintaining certain standards of decorum, so I don't get visited by like the Secret Service. Trump won't back out of the debate. His ego won't. It really is like a Titanic iceberg situation, isn't it? Like they see it coming. You know, they've got a few minutes. They just know they can't turn the boat. You know, it's really incredible to see. All right. Once more into the breach, my friends. Like, honestly, Joe Biden doing a bit where he forgets Donald Trump's name and calls him Donald Dump. That is like a solid 8 out of 10. That's a good diss from someone like Biden. I would follow you into the mists of Avalon. I'm not sure what that means, but thank you.
And hold yourself accountable if you're the one with that privilege. At some point, the national media decided that any sort of error in a social media post is worthy of its own breaking news story. So you need to protect yourself and your team from mistakes. This was our protocol. Check the handles, check the links, proofread for spelling and grammar 3 times, and then publish. Then click the handles on the live posts, click the links on the live post, and reread the spelling and grammar 3 more times.
Yeah, honestly, that I have to be honest. So far I've got very little to criticize this guy on because I too would, if I was running a presidential campaign, be quite nervous about typos. It would basically kill me inside if I had to correct typos while writing stuff for the president. He's evil, Big Joel. Ah, there we go. There's the comparison I was looking for. Thank you. Did I clicked play on the video. This is the longest fucking
Number
pause.
7, reporting. If your goal is to improve every week, then you and your team need to know what success looks like. Select the metrics that resonate the most with you and your team, whether that might be reach, engagements, output, or others, and set goals. Design a simple report that the team can pull every week to compare the metrics to your goals, as well as to the performance over.
Oh, yeah, you'll want to track how well your team is doing. Are you kidding me? Like, come on. Come on. Yeah, you should know how your team's doing. What? Come on.
Previous weeks. My preference has always been to have a weekly meeting to review this report.
Oh my God.
So that everyone is well informed and can share ideas for improvements.
Have you ever considered having your team at work do a weekly meeting so that people understand what's happening? God.
Now, part 3. This will be the last part of the conversation, and we're going to talk about messaging best practices. Social media platforms and best practices for them are constantly evolving and changing. So I'm going to share some high-level concepts that I think ring true despite the platform or the content.
And I'm going to do it
The
in a
first
song.
is to message for the medium. What works well on X, formerly Twitter, is going to be different in many ways from what works well on.
Chat, this hurts me. This hurts me so much. It hurts so, yeah, you know, you're gonna write something different if it's for radio as opposed to a television show, as opposed to a video game, as opposed to a social media post. Yeah, it's gonna be different. Yeah, come on.
On YouTube or Instagram. The same can be said in comparing any 2 mediums. Pay attention to how users, including yourself, engage with each of these platforms and make sure to differentiate your formatting and style to maximize impact. Think about what image and video aspect ratios will best fit the screen. If users are watching with the sound off, are there captions?
Hey, have you ever noticed that TikToks have different ratios than YouTube videos? Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Anyway, you should remember that different things, you need to write them different. Crazy.
To convey the message visually.
Oh, they're really planning to scrape the bottom of the barrel on this
Competitive
one.
advantage. Online media is a battlefield. There are millions of
Much like
individuals
love.
and organizations competing for your audience's attention. You're going toe-to-toe with the biggest athletes, musicians, and celebrities in the world, not to mention the well-staffed social media operations of newsrooms and major brands. You might have only been thinking about your political rivals. A key to standing out and building your audience is to understand your competitive advantages in the attention game. What information or access do you have that differentiates your account from everyone else? No one has better access to your leadership than you do. No one has better access behind the scenes within your agency. And no one should be able to know the breaking news around your policies and actions before your team. Leverage these areas and others in order to make your accounts indispensable for those who want to be in the know. Next, test and iterate. Don't get complacent with your content. Think strategically about what large or small differences could have a big impact on how audiences engage with your accounts. Implement these different approaches and pay attention, track their performance, and aim to continually move your work in the direction that brings you the most reach and engagement.
Oh man, dog. I never would have figured that out if he hadn't told me that. Damn, dude. So I should be trying to reach more people with my posts, with my content? Wow, I'd never considered that before. I thought the goal of the entire exercise was to reach less people each time. Really run it into the ground. I thought that was the scenario we were pursuing here. Wow, what a revelation. I was just gonna play Pokemon ROMs.
Next, keep your eyes on the horizon. An effective digital communicator is a curious one. No doubt, you're already always on your phone. Pay attention to which accounts, whether they're in your sphere or an entirely different one, are building audiences and shaping narratives. How can you learn from these accounts and bring those best practices back to the platforms that you manage? I like to keep a short list of accounts that I think are operating at the highest level and continually assessing what tactics that work for them could apply to the accounts in my own portfolio. Make it brag-worthy. When I started at the State Department, I told all of the career staff teams that I wanted them to make content that they will obnoxiously show off to their friends and family after work. Most people laughed because the idea that the content that they produced would be something they would actually want to share personally never crossed their mind. I think this is a good test of whether your team
is he literally saying you should secretly test your team? to see if, they're the kinds of team players who will post the content that they make on their own social media feeds. Because they want to weed out anyone who might be too ashamed to, show their face on social media. They want true believers who are schizo posting on their Facebooks.
Is operating at the highest level. You want to make content
Hey, Danny Boy
that
DeGrey.
stands out and that you're proud of showing off, even to audiences who aren't interested in or agree with the policy.
They really want malleable Play-Doh people, don't they? Hey, Urtimer.
Lastly, and perhaps most importantly, do no harm. The truth is that any one social media post is not likely to individually make a significant or even measurable advancement of your policy objectives. It could happen, but generally it's going to be the accumulation of a critical mass, not only on social media, but through press conferences, speeches, surrogates, and real-world action. But one bad social media post can easily drive the news cycle with at best a distraction and at worst potentially even a poison pill. I know it's not fair. On a similar note, there is a tendency for young staffers to think that being good at social media means having a lot of followers personally and shooting out viral posts. If you're joining the administration to increase your follower count, you're the wrong person for the job.
You should get nothing out of this job, okay? Nothing, all right? You're joining for clout? Fuck you. We don't want you, okay? We only want real believers, true believers in the second coming of Donald Trump, all right? If you aren't a true believer, you can go straight to hell. Coming in here trying to make a name for yourself, thinking you're some hot shot with a keyboard, some kind of savant who's gonna, show us the error of our ways and reach Gen Z and Gen Alpha when they come around? You fucker. We only want people who will post Goebbels level propaganda on command, all right? You pieces of shit.
You are delivering the message,
You work
but
for
you're often
Donald
not the
fucking
messenger.
Trump and you'll
The
love
president is a messenger.
Asshole.
The cabinet secretaries are messengers. The spokesperson is a messenger. It's very possible for an off message or offensive post from a junior staffer with even a small following to capture far more media attention than the accounts and content that your team is working so hard to amplify every day.
Yeah, it turns out if you say the N-word on your social media account, it's going to make big news and make it harder for us to do our fascism, okay? Just want you to know that before, you post that big
Thank you so much for
and-
taking the time today to have this conversation about operating effectively within a government agency, learning about a toolkit that you can use for your social media team, as well as discussing some best practice principles for effectively advancing policies on social media.
Yeah, you gotta be
I want to give a
deniably
special
racist,
thanks
guys.
to Project
Come
2025
on.
for allowing me to
We're
come
the
and share some of the
Republicans.
lessons learned from my time in the administration. And I want to wish you all the best of luck in your future, hopefully within a presidential administration, and hope that you can use these lessons in order to achieve your goals and to help move policy forward.
For a guy who thinks he can create engaging content, he didn't do a good job. Frankly, I feel bad for subjecting all of you to it. But you know what? Guys, we did it! We did it! Believe it or not, we made it! We came out the other side! Intact.